My name is Terry Wager. This is my vlog for the date today is August 25th, 2014, and I am trying to make a quick vlog. I recently posted on my blog a video showing how I was surrounded by Portland Police, the Multnomah County Sheriff's sting operatives, and how they were secretly meeting with family members of mine, and basically caught them in the act on video. And I uploaded a copy of a video of it onto my blog, and I pointed out the fact that it was an edited version that law enforcement edited. In other words, after I caught them on video, and I went and took that video and turned it into a format that a computer can run on, that a computer can run it. I uploaded it to the internet, and law enforcement took that video and edited it, and they hacked my computer and they edited the original copies that I had on my computer. And I've just gone through all of my evidence that I have, that I've accumulated on these sting operatives, and discovered that I don't have a I don't have a copy of this video in a digital format. All I have is their edited version of it. I still have the original on a video cassette, off of that cassette and onto a computer. I don't have that anymore, and I'll explain why shortly.
But anyway, let me show you this video. This is a video that I took in 2009. I was severely poisoned. I was severely debilitated from being poisoned by my wife, Joan Wager, and by her F-buddies in law enforcement. My wife and her whole side of the family were sleeping around with and palling around with people in law enforcement. And those people in authority gave my wife permission to poison me to death. And while they had me severely debilitated from being poisoned, my wife and her sister and my wife's daughters were being coached and directed by Multnomah County Sheriffs and the Portland Police as to how to frame me for crimes that law enforcement wanted me to get the blame for. And law enforcement was using a Portland police officer by the name of Officer Eric Carlson, an exact lookalike, but he's a damn close lookalike. He's not an exact twin or anything. Although a lot of people that I'm aware of referred to him by any measure of the word, but he is a damn close lookalike, especially when he deliberately of which he was doing. But anyway, let me get to this video. I'm going to play this video twice. The first time I'm going to pause quite a bit, and then I'm going to play it again and just let it play through. And then I'm going to explain basically what this video is about. Okay. Let me launch the video.
My computer's really slow, so I can't do nothing with that. I have a really slow computer. To do anything on this computer is very slow. Got like a 1.3. Oh, this video was recorded by me in 2009. And late 2009.
I'm estimating around October. I can't be certain of the exact time frame, because I was debilitated. I was bedridden. I was in severe pain. It's not easy for me to talk at the time. It still isn't easy for me to talk. I am not fully recovered from what they've done to me. I had a great deal of trouble walking. I'm partially paralyzed. I'm in a great deal of severe pain. I'm mortally wounded by these people, by being poisoned by them. Now, I'm fully aware at this point that I'm surrounded by Portland Police and Multnomah County Sheriff's sting operatives. That means people in law enforcement that try to hide the fact they're in law enforcement. In other words, I'm already aware of this. I've caught these people already multiple times trying to frame me. They were using photo doubles in front of my apartment. I have video of that. I've literally caught them on video using photo doubles of me, and they were using a double of somebody that was impersonating one of my daughters. So I actually have video evidence of these sting operatives using photo doubles. Okay, so I'm already aware I'm surrounded by multiple people in law enforcement that are operating under the pretense of a sting. I'm already aware of this. And I'm already aware that my wife and my wife Joan Wager and her sister Vicky Rosales were palling around with and were sleeping around with these officers, and so was my wife's daughters. As a matter of fact, one of our daughters got pregnant by one of Officer Eric Carlson's partners. So that should give you an idea as to how personal this is and how my wife got permission to be a poisoner, and that should give you an idea as to why they're trying to frame me as a pedo, because they were sleeping around with my wife and her daughters. They had my wife and daughters turned against me behind my back. My wife and daughters tried to conceal that fact from me, and when I discovered they were using a double, I tried to warn people about it, and that's when my wife poisoned me. So they were already in the process of framing me when I tried to warn people about them, about what they were doing, and that's when my wife poisoned me. Now, during this video, this video took place in 2009. I'm already aware I'm surrounded by sting operatives. They put death threats in my home. They were putting audio death threats in my home. They were covering up my 911 calls. They were sending me death threats via email. When I contacted any law agency to report this, they would respond by either taunting me in an email, or they would threaten me in an email, and then I would get another audio death threat in my home. So I already knew I'm surrounded by these people. These people in law enforcement have a black car in the parking lot in front of my apartment with the license plate "C'est la Vie" on it. It says SAYLV, and they parked that car there. The same day they put an audio death threat in my apartment. And they were essentially hinting to the fact that they have a big surprise for me in that death threat. And that law enforcement pretty much took over the entire apartment building that I rented an apartment and was living at. It's a small apartment building. It only has like 8 apartments. So it's not a huge complex type of an apartment building. It's an apartment building that has only 8 apartments. They took over all the apartments with the knowledge and blessings of the apartment managers. As a matter of fact, the apartment managers were helping these people to set me up. When my wife's fuck buddies in law enforcement take over
all the surrounding apartments surrounding mine, and then there you put it doubles in front of my apartment so that they could frame me for shit that they're doing while they have me debilitated. That's more than enough to charge them with attempted murder, premeditated murder, and professional framing. And the apartment manager of this building was helping and assisting these people the entire time, so they're technically accomplices. Well, my oldest daughter, Shauna, who is also living in this apartment with me at the time, and she's like, at the time, she's like, I don't know, 27, I think, 28 years old. Remember, I'm debilitated. I'm bedridden at this time. They have me bedridden, okay? So I'm under the care at this time of my oldest daughter, Shauna Wager. And she is also a sting operative. She's not a police officer. She's not a county sheriff officer. She's what you would call a civilian sting operative, because she's working with these Portland police officers and the Multnomah County sheriff officers to set me up. Well, I'm already aware I'm surrounded. I'm already aware they were using doubles. I'm already aware they poisoned me. Okay, I already know she works for these people. So this is me in an attempt to catch them in their conspiracy together, where they all get together and they talk. And I knew usually when my daughter takes the dog out for a walk, we had a dog named Pepsi. When she takes the dog out for a walk, that's usually during the time when all these sting operatives start coming out of the buildings, because they usually go on a walk with her, and they're advising her as to what to do. They're telling her what to do. They're like direct sting operatives in law enforcement officers that direct their civilian operatives are much like directors of a movie. They tell their civilian operatives, okay, we want you to do this. Okay, we want you to do that. We want you to do this for the video surveillance. We want you to do that for the video surveillance. So it was a constant state of them directing her and meeting with her, and it was a constant state where they try to hide it. Now keep in mind, I already know this is occurring. So this is me in an attempt to actually catch these people meeting together, and then the fact that they're trying to hide it. And they are trying to hide it. Then they're caught in the act trying to hide it. The apartment, which is above my apartment during this video, it was being rented by the Portland Police and by the Multnomah County Sheriffs. And Officer Eric Carlson and his partners in law enforcement were using that apartment as a way of setting me up. And they had me in my apartment under illegal video surveillance, and my oldest daughter, Shauna Wager, is working for them and is constantly being coached and directed by them, and they try to hide this fact. So this is it's not technically, they may claim it's a sting operation because, like I said, they were framing me for crimes that they wanted me to get the blame for, and verbally behind my back they were giving me blame for shit. They don't have the balls to have a fucking formal trial, since they know that I know that they were using a double, so they don't really have an actual intention. But anyway, my daughter just went out the door like a minute before I turned on this camcorder to walk the dog. And as soon as she got out the door, I started hearing other doors opening and closing. So I knew, and I already knew I was surrounded by sting operatives. So I knew the sting operatives were meeting with my daughter, Shauna Wager. And I could hear loud talking going on that came from the street. And sound in this apartment area from the outside carries pretty well. If people are in front of the building, which is not in the line of sight of this camcorder, you can usually hear them talking, especially if they're talking loud. Well, these sting operatives have a tendency to be quite loud. And they became very loud and very active right after Shauna went out the door to walk the dog. So this is why I turned on my camcorder, and this is why I'm cracking the door open, because I already know these people are in law enforcement. These are the people that were sleeping around with and palling around with my wife and daughters in 2005. These are the people the very same people that gave my wife permission to poison me to death. And they've already made it known to me via death threats and by staging crimes using doubles right in front of my apartment and shit. And I caught them in the act on doing that on video as well. So it's like I said, I already know the entire apartment building is taken over by the Portland Police County Sheriffs with the knowledge and consent of the apartment manager. So when my daughter Shauna went out the door to walk the dog, there was quite a bit of activity going on immediately after that. So I could hear people opening and closing doors. I could hear these sting operatives being quite loud and vocal, and a lot of shit was going on right after my daughter left the apartment. So I'm essentially trying to catch on video the commotion that was going on, and to catch on video the sting operatives that I already knew I'm surrounded by, already knowing that my wife and her daughters are palling around and sleeping around with these people, and that they've been trying to hide it the whole time, because it's their motive for murder, and it's their motive for wanting me to get the blame for their shit. I'm going to start this up and let it go a little bit. And there's going to be 3 people that are going to walk into view as soon as I start this up. All 3 of them are in green shirts or green jackets. All 3 of them are in law enforcement. All 3 of them are going straight to the apartment above mine. And the stairs that goes to their specific apartment that is right next to my door. Now, pay very close attention to what they say and what they have in their hands, because they are in law enforcement. They're talking about my daughter, Shauna Wager. They're mentioning more than once Shauna Wager's name. One of them is holding what appears to be a gun in their hand. Another one is holding what looks like some sort of a camera. There's a person that's wearing white shoes that is holding what could possibly be a cell phone or some kind of a small camera. And he snapped the photo of my door because they noticed it was cracked open. And he's making mention of this to the lady that's in the middle. He's even showing it to her. He snapped the photo of my door being cracked open, and he's showing it to the lady that's alongside him. And he's talking about Shauna at that point. And her name is being mentioned more than once by these people. Now I'm going to let this play. Okay. I just paused it. Those 3 people are in law enforcement, by the Portland Police and by the Multnomah County Sheriffs. This is a joint venture, joint operation on their part. Now,
I don't know if you noticed very closely what's in their hands, but they're holding what appears to be a gun. The person on the right, the farthest right, is from our perspective, the person that's on the farthest right is holding what looks like a gun. It could be a bottle too. It's kind of hard to tell in this lighting. I do have the original video of this, but it's on a cassette, and I have no way to convert this. I have no way to get it onto this computer. I don't have the equipment to. So I have no way of getting another copy of the original, unless I spend a shit ton of money to buy some equipment. I don't have the money to do that. So I have to use this edited version that law enforcement edited after I uploaded it. So, but anyway, they were naming Shauna more than once. So these people were in fact renting an apartment above ours, and they were meeting with Shauna. Keep in mind, Shauna went out the door like a minute before I started recording. This is why I started recording, because there was a whole lot of commotion right after my daughter Shauna Wager went out the door. So they were talking with her, and they know her, and they refer to her by name. I don't know who these people are. I can't even tell you these people's names. My daughter is trying to hide the fact that she even knows these people. She doesn't even want me to know. You know what? And the reason why is because they're all guilty of murder. They're guilty of setting me up for crimes that they were committing. And so my daughter was trying to hide this at the time from me. Law enforcement trying to hide it. Now, they can see, law enforcement noticed my door's cracked open. Notice how they're making mention of it. Notice how the dude in the white shoes on the far left, from our perspective, was holding what looks like a cell phone. It looks like he snapped a photo of the door being cracked open, and he's showing it to the lady. Now keep in mind, they're going to the apartment above mine. And twice they said Shauna's name. And after they said her name, they immediately started using the word pedo. And they used that twice as well. So they're saying Shauna's name multiple times, and they're saying pedo multiple times. Now keep that in mind, because these people in law enforcement are using an officer that was sleeping around with my wife as a double to frame me, and they had my wife and daughters turned against me, so they could easily frame me for anything. And that's what they were trying to do in 2005. Now this video took place in 2009. Late 2009. Well, I uncovered the fact in April of 2005 that my wife was having an affair with a Portland police officer, and that this dude, who was a brunette at the time, dyed his damn hair blonde so that he could act as a double to impersonate me. And I found out that in April 2005 that my wife was hooking her daughters up with him. So I had every reason that I was trying to warn people in April 2005 of their conspiracy. They were setting me up, and they were using a double, and they had my wife and daughters on board with their shit. So this is why I was trying to warn people back then, and that is the reason why my wife, Joan Wager, poisoned me. And I have been pretty much debilitated since that point. I was already debilitated before that with a broken rib and a fucked up knee, but that's a different matter. After they poisoned me, it's very hard to talk. It's very hard to communicate effectively and to function effectively or normally when a person's poisoned. You have no idea how debilitating it is. These people. Okay, let me go on with this video here. Now, those three people in green just went up the stairs to the apartment that is directly above mine. They snapped a photo of my door being cracked open. They're referring to Shauna twice.
They made the pedo accusation. They used the word pedo twice. Now keep that in mind, because there is a fourth person also in green that's still out on the roadway in a car with a generic pizza sign on top of that car, and that person is waiting for Shauna to come back from that walk. And when Shauna comes into view, you will see on this video, you can see what looks like a mailbox. That white box towards the right side of the screen, which is near a car that's parked over there. That's a mailbox there. That's over on the street. Well, to the left of this camera view, and it's just out of our line of sight, we can't actually see it. There's a car parked there with a generic pizza sign on it, and there's a person in green sitting in that car waiting for Shauna Wager, my oldest daughter. He's waiting for Shauna Wager to come back from the walk with the dog. And when he sees her come into view, he's going to flash his headlights at her and then turn his headlights back off. And Shauna is going to walk over to the car and get into that car. And I'm going to start this up again, and you can see that. Okay, I hope you saw that. Now you can see that mailbox got lit up a little bit. That's because the person in that's the fourth person that's in green is sitting in that car, and he just flashed his headlights at Shauna, and Shauna's heading straight for that car. Shauna, that was my daughter that just walked by, and she's heading straight for that car. Straight for it. And she's going to get into that car. The car is going to come into view, and you'll see what looks like a pizza sign on top of that car. And it is a pizza sign, but it's not a Domino's pizza. It's not a Pizza Hut sign. It's not a Domino sign. It's just a generic sign that says pizza, and that's it. That's all it is. And he flashed his headlights at Shauna. That got her attention, and she's heading right for that car, and she's going to get into the car, and the car is going to go from the left of the screen down the street to the right. Now, when it does that, it's going to get to the intersection that's down the road, which is about half a block away, and it's going to turn around. That car is going to turn around, and then Shauna's going to get back out of that car. And then that car is going to come right back from the right heading to the left, and then pull right into this parking lot. And as that car is doing that, Shauna, my daughter Shauna, is going to come into view walking again from the right side to the left. So you're seeing Shauna Wager come from the right side twice. She's already walked to the car. She's getting into the car. Now I'm going to start this up again. There it is. There's the fourth person in the apartment above ours. And there's Shauna in that car. She got in that car with him. Now that car is going to let her back out. And that car is going to turn around and come back here. There it is again. And it's parking right in front of my apartment. And there's Shauna Bam, once again coming from the right side to the left. So she got into that car, spoke briefly with the person in that car with the generic pizza sign. It went down the road, turned around at the intersection, and dropped her back off. And she's walking again back to the apartment with our dog Pepsi. So she's come from the right side, going left twice. Now, as this person gets out of this car, and as my daughter Shauna Wager gets closer, he's going to say to her, warn her that my front door's cracked open. In other words, he's warning her that I might be listening. So this undercover sting officer is caught on video directing a civilian as a sting operative and warning her to be careful what she says because I'm listening. They think I'm listening. They're not aware that I'm actually catching them on video. They just think I'm standing by the doorway listening. That's what they think. So, and this person is not in a uniform like a Pizza Hut uniform or a Domino's uniform. He's wearing a green shirt, a green button in the front type flannel type of a shirt kind of a thing, and he's not wearing a pizza hat of any type or shape or form. He is carrying a pizza box. I don't think camera caught him on video holding that box, but I was visually watching as this is occurring. Not through the camera lens. The camera is down on the floor, and I'm in a sitting position on the couch, 4 or 5 feet away from this camera, behind the camera, and I visually seen this person walk by the door and go upstairs. He was carrying a pizza box, but it was a white generic pizza box that has no markings on it. None. And he didn't have that pizza box in a pizza warmer at all. It was not in a pizza warmer. Normally, pizza drivers usually they carry their pizzas in a pizza warmer, and they hold their pizzas in a pizza warmer that keeps the pizzas warm. He just looks like a dude in a green shirt that's carrying a pizza box. He doesn't look like a pizza delivery person at all. He's not acting like a pizza delivery person at all. And he's also in green, and he knows Shauna, and he's warning Shauna. He says Shauna's name. He says, Shauna, the front door is cracked. He's telling her this as she approaches, and the camcorder caught it. Now let me continue with this. There, you just witnessed that person going to the exact same stairs next to my doorway that the other 3 people in green took. And this person knows Shauna. He said Shauna's name. He said her name, and he warned her the front door's cracked open. She responded to that. To him. She responded. So they're meeting together. They're trying to fucking hide it. She is a civilian sting operative for the Portland police and the Multnomah County sheriffs, and they are caught trying to conceal their murder conspiracy, and that's exactly what it is. It's a murder conspiracy because they're poisoning people, they're framing people, and they're using their power of authority as law enforcement and using sting tactics to get away with their crimes. Now, as my daughter walks through the front door, my first question to her was I asked her a question as soon as she walked through the door. I said, which stairs did he take? Now keep in mind, my door's cracked open, my camera's running, my door's cracked open, and I'm sitting there watching that person walk right by my door, right after I saw those other 3 people walk by my door and go up to that apartment. And I knew these people are sting operatives. They already bragged on death threats that they put in my home, okay? They have a fucking car parked in front of my apartment with the license plate "C'est la Vu" on it. And they put that car showed up the same time the death threat in my home showed up. So I know damn well these people are in authority. They bragged on death threats. They covered up my 911 calls repeatedly. I know this is proof of their operation, and this is proof that Shauna Wager is connected to these people. These are the people that gave my wife in 2005 permission to poison me to death, and they repeatedly poisoned me. Now they're caught on video covertly meeting, and they're trying to hide it. They're using cloak and dagger, almost they're using cloak and dagger tactics in order to meet with one another, and they make an effort to try to hide it, although any real attempt to actually hide it is half-assed at best, because it's still blatant. You know, if they really wanted to try to hide it, they wouldn't be talking so damn loud out there, because that's what drew my attention in the first place. So, like I said, any attempt they make to hide their conspiracy, is actually half-assed on their part. Well, anyway, as my daughter Shauna Wager walks through the door, I asked her a question. I asked her, which stairs did he just take? That was the question I asked her. And Shauna Wager responds to my question by saying, he took the other stairs, not this one. He took the other stairs. He said, not this one. He took the other stairs. So she is caught lying for these 4 people. Now, this video already proves these 4 people know Shauna. They're saying her name. They're deliberately waiting for her to come back on her walk with the dog. They're deliberately briefly meeting with her, giving her further instructions, and then they drop her off down the street and have her walk up to the apartment. So she's coming from the right side, heading to the left side twice on this video, because she's trying to hide it, and these undercover officers are also trying to hide it. That is an effort. Half-assed as it may be, it's an effort on their part to hide it. Okay? They're trying to hide it. And so after I asked Shauna, which stairs did this man take? She lied and said, not this one, he took the other one. Or he said, the other one, not this one, something like that. It was one way or another way. She's lying about what stairs he's taking. So she's trying to hide the fact that this person that she's secretly meeting with and trying to hide is going to the apartment above ours. She's caught trying to hide it. They're caught secretly meeting with her in a covert manner. And they're caught admitting they know her and that they're waiting for her. And they're caught directing her as to what to do. And as both this vehicle and my daughter Shauna approaches this building, the person in the car is warning Shauna. And he says her name. Her name. He says, Shauna, the front door is open. He's warning her that I'm listening. I'm paying attention. Now let me finish this plane. Okay. Now, the reason I point out the fact that this is not the original video, it's the Portland Police and Multnomah County Sheriff's edited version of the video. And the reason I'm pointing that out is now I'm going to have to start this over a bit to recap a little bit. Let me skip ahead to about this part right here, because it's around the time I set the camera down. The moment I set the camera down on the original video, I gotta wait for me to set the camera down. Let's see. Okay, there. Now, this is how I know that this is their edited version, because on the original of this video, these three people that you can see approaching instantly, they actually were over there across the street where those parked cars are, and they were coming across the street, and you can see the third person, which is on the left of this lady. Let me bring this forward a little bit. This edited version doesn't catch this third person's face. That one, the one dude with the white shoes right there. It doesn't. This version doesn't catch his face. That dude right there. On the original version, on the original video that I still have on cassette, when I set the camera down, those people came into view, but not from this angle. They came to view from across the street over there, because they were already talking to Shauna. They were over there talking to Shauna, and Shauna went that way with the dog. And these three people came in between this car that's parked over there and this car that's parked over there. You can't see them now, but when a car with headlights goes by, you can see there's a car right here and there's a car right there parked. These three people came from between those two cars on the original video. So the original video has the face of that third person. That third person is Mr. Carlson, the person that was sleeping around with my wife. So they edited what these three people on the original video. Those three people came from over there because they were talking to Shauna over there. And when they separated, Shauna went down that street that way. And these people came in between these two cars, crossed the street, went this way to talk to the person that's sitting in that car with the pizza sign. And then they came into view this way. So they came into view twice. On their edited version, you're only seeing them come into view once. And you never get to see that third person's face. And so that's just, so they edited the original video because of those reasons. And they edited the video again near the end of it. And the part that they edited near the end of the video is right there. They edited my question that I asked Shauna. I can't quite understand or make out what the hell that is, but that's not me asking that question. That's somebody else's voice saying something else entirely. So they removed my question, my audio. They changed the audio part where I'm asking Shauna the question, what stairs did he just take? That's what they edited out. So they edited the beginning part where you can see those three people in full view. And they also edited out the part near the middle where, as my daughter Shauna is first approaching from the right, heading to the left, the Pizza Hut, that's not a Pizza Hut, the generic pizza sign car that has that green shirted person in there, flashed his headlights at her, and you could see the high beams of his car hitting that mailbox that is there's a mailbox right there. When they flashed their let me see if I can find it. Where is it? I'll try to find it. Bear with me here for a second. They edited the part where they actually flashed their headlights. There's my daughter right there. She is approaching the car that has their headlights on, and they're stationary and parked right in front of the building, just out of line of sight of this apartment. You can tell because their headlights are on. Their headlights are reflecting off of that shiny metal mailbox right there. So the car is not moving. It's parked. It's stationary. It's like right there. Okay, it's like just out of the line of sight. And as she was approaching from over here, they flashed. That's when they turned on the headlight. The car didn't pull up and park right there. It was already parked. The entire time that car was already parked there and was waiting for Shauna to come back from the walk with the dog. And he flashed he turned on his headlights as she came into view, which is why she is not heading back home. She's heading in this direction because she's going straight for that car. Now she's going to get into that. They edited portions of this video. For the most part, it's mostly in this particular video. For the most part, is mostly intact, but they have edited it. They tinkered with it. All the digital copies of it that I have either on DVD or on my hard drive of this is their edited version, because they literally hacked my computer and they edited the original video of this. Now I have the original still on cassette, but what I don't have is the ability to transfer that video from a cassette onto a video format. I had an old camcorder that used cassettes. It wasn't a digital camera. It used cassettes. So I caught all this on tape, and I had to have a FireWire adapter. And I had to use a special cord. It was a Sony camera. It was a Sony camcorder that used cassettes, and I needed a FireWire adapter on the computer and a special cord in order to copy that video from that cassette onto the computer. Now, after I copied the video onto our computer, I immediately tried uploading this video onto YouTube. And law enforcement not only edited the original version of this that I had on YouTube, they hacked my computer and they edited all the original copies of this video that was on the computer. Now I made copies of this not being aware that they edited it. I noticed after the fact. So keep in mind, I'm bedridden, I'm debilitated, I'm severely debilitated. I'm surrounded by murderers that are essentially people in law enforcement, and they're civilian operatives. Law enforcement is just like the fucking mafia. They're no damn different than the fucking mafia, and they gang up on people just like the fucking mafia does, and they surround their targets so that they debilitate their targets so their targets can't get help. They vilify their targets so nobody will feel sorry for their targets, and there's nobody I can call. I'm literally surrounded by sting operatives. I'm surrounded by either people in law enforcement that were involved in this, or by civilian operatives that were also involved in this, that joined into it with them. So, and they already have me debilitated. I'm partially paralyzed. I'm bleeding internally. So they have me debilitated, and they know this. They know I don't have a phone. They know I have no way to grab a phone and call it and call somebody and say, help, help. They know this. So they don't care if I know or suspect. These people are murderers. These people committed a murder in 2007. These people murdered somebody in 2007. I caught these bastards in the act doing this shit on a damn audio recorder back then. And this is 2009. Now, after I caught Shauna meeting with her fuck buddies in law enforcement in a covert, cloak and daggerish manner, and caught her lying about them and lying about what stairs they're taking, because she's trying to hide the fact her fuck buddies in law enforcement had the apartment above us. Shauna broke my camcorder right after this. I took this video. In other words, right after I copied this video, I had to take that camcorder and use a FireWire adapter and a special cord in order to copy that video off the cassette and onto a computer. And after I done that, I uploaded that video, and I was trying to warn people. And law enforcement's response and Shauna Wager's response was law enforcement took that video, edited it, they hacked the computer and edited the original digital copy of it I had on the computer, and Shauna Wager herself broke my camcorder. And she tried, to my face, she tried to pretend it was an accident. It was deliberate. She intentionally dropped it and pretended it was an accident. So this is literally the last video I have of law enforcement and of my family members that were sleeping around with these people, and these people are guilty of murders. Law enforcement recruited my wife into these operations, essentially recruited my wife and pretty much everybody on her side of the family way back in early 1999. And that's when my wife worked at the Multnomah County Jail kitchen. She was a food prep person. So my wife and her family got recruited into this shit. In essence, sting operations. In essence. And their right away it turned into a murder conspiracy, because law enforcement made the decision that they were going to set me up and they were going to murder people in my family. And that's when this pretty much all kind of started. And it's hard to explain all of this, because it's not one event or two events or three events. It's an accumulation of hundreds and hundreds of events that happen repeatedly over and over and over and over and over again. I was catching these people directing my wife and daughters back in 1999, and they wore green back then too. So these sting operatives in the Portland Police and County Sheriffs are very fond of green. They're very fond of that. They try to hide the fact they're in law enforcement, and they're very color-coded type people. Law enforcement is very much color-coded type people. When they're acting as sting operatives, they generally like to wear green. Not the civilian operatives, but the people that are in law enforcement that are the sting operatives generally tend to wear green. Now, I already know that it was the Multnomah County Sheriff that started all this. It was the Multnomah County Sheriff that recruited my wife and her family into this kind of shit. It was the Multnomah County Sheriffs that made a decision they were going to frame me using a double. It was the Multnomah County Sheriffs that was coaching and directing my daughter as to how to set me up back in 1999. Now, my daughter, since a couple years later, after the fact, admitted her accusations were false, and she admitted in writing to that. Now, she didn't realize back then that I already knew. I uncovered pretty much everything that they were involved in 1999, the day my wife, Joan Wager, quit her job at the Multnomah County Jail Kitchen, which is pretty much the beginning stages of when all this started. So I had way more information than they thought I had. The whole time, the Multnomah County Sheriffs were coaching and directing my wife and her family as to how to frame me. And they were victimizing other people, not just me. So I'm not their only target. Multiple family members died during their so-called sting operation. Multiple people died. Which is why they try to hide the fact that they're all connected. They're trying to hide their motives, and their motives is they work together. It's a sting operation where essentially law enforcement officers recruit their girlfriends into sting operations, and they teach their girlfriends how to poison. They teach their girlfriends how to frame people, and that's how this started. And I uncovered everything pretty much the day my wife Joan Wager quit her job in Multnomah County Jail Kitchen. And the reason why is because my wife and her family were celebrating the county sheriff's decision to frame me. And we're celebrating the fact that they were going to be bringing in a double and shit and everything. And that my wife and her family, her side of the family, were all on board with this crap. And they were all celebrating it. And they were all talking about it. And I overheard them talking about it. So I pretty much uncovered everything at the very beginning and inception of this operation of theirs. For all practical intents and purposes, it's criminal conspiracy is what it is. But since law enforcement is the ones doing it and running it and organizing it, they don't refer to it as criminal conspiracy. They refer to their operations as sting operations. And when they recruit civilians into these situations, they refer to them generally as civilian operatives. My daughter, Shauna Wager, is not in law enforcement in any official capacity, but she does work for law enforcement, and she tries to hide it. She's technically a whore for the Portland Police and Multnomah County Sheriffs, and she'll do anything law enforcement tells her to do. She'll sleep with an officer that's a lookalike of me just so she can frame me. Is that enough? Is that enough to know she's a whore? Is it? Is that enough to know that she'll do anything to frame people? This is, you have to understand. Once you understand law enforcement's mentality, once you understand how they think, for them it's not about going after bad guys. For them, it's about making their targets look like bad guys. That's what they care about. And they try to hide the fact that they're organized and that they work together in these activities and that they recruit people into these activities. They try to hide that because it's criminal conspiracy. You know, they had my wife and daughters turned against me, and they didn't think I knew about that. So they tried to hide that because that's their motive. They tried to hide that from me. And they the whole system is corrupt. It always has been, and people don't understand it. People that watch, average normal people that watch TV and watch average news, are completely oblivious to how this government really works. And the reason why is because the news media constantly spews propaganda and constantly lies to people about police and about police operations and about how bad police really are. News media goes out of their way to portray law enforcement as a bunch of good guys, when in fact they're just a bunch of organized criminals and always have been. They don't want people to know that law enforcement womanizes with other people's wives. They don't want people to know that law enforcement recruits civilians into these type of operations, and that it's personal. There's usually a personal reason, and they always try to hide that. Most people that are targeted by police or sting operatives are generally not aware as to why they're being targeted. They may be aware that at some point they're being targeted or ganged up on, but most people are unaware as to why. And usually the reasons is some sort of a personal reason, and they try to hide that reason. And the reason they hide it is because that's their motive. They don't want people to know. And law enforcement goes way out of their way and spends a great deal of time, money, effort on staging things. In other words, they don't fight criminals that commit crimes. Law enforcement organizes and stages crimes using their own operatives, and then they'll generally give their targets that they already have surrounded by sting operatives. They'll give their targets the blame. And what news media's job essentially is to sell all the lies and the propaganda that law enforcement gives them to the American people. So this is why people generally are oblivious to how law enforcement works, or how they think, or how they operate. I know that civilian sting operatives get paid by law enforcement to do this shit. They usually get paid cash by law enforcement. It's usually in the thousands, generally around 10,000. It could be more. A minimum for a couple hours work for law enforcement, they'll get like $10,000. I have video footage of these very same people paying a bunch of brats to make me look like a bad guy in front of my apartment, and the entire time those officers, just like these officers are directing Shauna, well, these same officers were directing these brats to hang out in front of my apartment and to make false accusations about me. Now, just an hour of those brats doing that shit, those people got 10 grand for that from law enforcement. Law enforcement gave them 10 grand for that. So law enforcement does pay their civilian operatives to lie for them. News media is mums the word about that. Gee, I wonder why. Anyway, this is how law enforcement frames people, and this is how they get away with it. And I'm already aware of it, and I'm just essentially catching them in the act. I already knew every time Shauna took the dog out for a walk, she's meeting with these people. I already knew this. I was catching them multiple times doing this when I wasn't using the camcorder. So I know damn well they were doing this and they're trying to hide it. So this was my attempt at catching them in the act of meeting with her, and the fact that they try to hide it. So, and I essentially proved, in fact, that yeah, these people were not only talking with Shauna and know Shauna, but they were waiting for Shauna, and they're giving her instructions, and they're trying to hide it. They're flashing they're using their headlights to get her attention to go to the car, and she got into the car, and the car went down the street half a block away, got to the intersection, it turned around, and then the driver of that car let Shauna back out of the car again, and then they both came into the parking lot separately. So they're trying to hide the fact they're meeting, and the car came in first. Shauna came in from behind the car, and the driver of that car literally said Shauna's name and told her, my door's cracked open. In other words, he's letting his civilian operative know that their target is by the front door with the door cracked open and is paying attention. That's what he's warning her of before he walks by and goes up the stairs next to the doorway here. Now, like I said, I still have the original of this on cassette. This is their edited version that the law enforcement edited. But it's still more than good enough. It's good enough for me to use it against them. I don't give a shit. It's like I said, I still have the original on cassette, but I don't have the physical means of copying the original off that cassette onto a digital format, because right after I caught them doing this, I made a digital copy of it. You know, I had a FireWire adapter on our computer, and I had a special cord for my camcorder so that I could copy this video that was on cassette, because my camcorder was an old camcorder. And I made a copy of it on the computer, and then I immediately uploaded it onto YouTube. And almost immediately, law enforcement took that original video and they edited it. And the reason they edited it is, for one, Officer Eric Carlson is on it. He's on this edited version too, but it doesn't show his face. And they edited the part where you could clearly distinguish the fact that the pizza car is flashing the headlight at Shauna to get her attention, which is why she's heading straight for that car and getting into it. They snipped that little part out. And then at the very end of the video, they changed my question into something else. I don't even think that's my voice, where it sounds like somebody's talking to Shauna, and then Shauna answers by saying, the other one, not this one, or something like that. I at that point of the video, I was the one talking and asking Shauna, which stairs did he just take? And Shauna answered my question by saying, the other one, not this one. So she was lying. She's caught lying for them. Now, I still have the original video, but I don't have it in a digital format. I have no way to upload it. I would need something that could play a high 8 cassette. I don't have anything that can play a high 8 cassette. Like I said, Shauna Wager broke my camera after I caught her meeting with these people. And she tried to make it look like an accident. It was like not even a week after I caught this. She pretended that she was cleaning in the apartment, and she picked up the camcorder and she just deliberately dropped it. And then acted like it was an accident. But I watched her do it. I know damn fucking full well that she was intentional. So, because she broke my camcorder, I don't have any way of taking the original off of the cassette and getting it on the computer. So I have no choice but to use this edited version of law enforcement's. Now, for the most part, this is intact and accurate, but they've snipped out parts that are crucial. They snipped out the part near the beginning here, where right after I set down the camcorder, those 3 people come into view, but not from this angle over here. They come into view from over there, where they're coming from those cars that are parked across the street. And you can see all 3 of them. Not very well, mind you, but you can see all 3 of them. And one of them, the person that was on the far left, the dude that's on the far left, that's Officer Eric Carlson. That's the officer that was sleeping with my wife. That's the officer that my wife was hooking our daughters up with in 2005. That's the officer that dyed his hair blonde because he's a natural brunette so he could impersonate me. And they snipped that part out of this video. So, And then they snipped out the part where the generic pizza sign car that's parked right over here just flashed his headlights, and his headlights flashed right on that mailbox, and it was very it was very blatant that he was trying to get Shauna's attention. They snipped that part out. They snipped that part out, and you can see that the headlights is on, but you don't see the headlights being turned on. It was he flashed his brights, and it majorly shined on that mailbox that's right there. They snipped that tiny part out, and then of course they near the end they changed what I said. So that's pretty much what's on this edited version. And those are the changes that they made to it. Now, of course, after I upload this, there is nothing stopping law enforcement from changing it or editing this. Now, is there? So they may actually change some of the things that I'm saying right now. They may change, right after I upload this, they may change it. I'm going to save a copy of this onto a flash drive, and before I upload it, so in case they tamper with it, again, I'll try to document that if I can. But these people, keep in mind, these people are murderers. These people committed a murder in 2007. On March 26, 2007, these people committed a murder. These officers, these organized officers that clearly know Shauna Wager and are clearly covertly meeting with Shauna Wager and are clearly making the effort to try to hide the fact that they're meeting with Shauna Wager and are clearly warning her that I'm paying attention, because they mentioned the front door to Shauna as she's approaching the door. These people committed a murder in 2007, and everybody at Clackamas Walmart that worked on March 26, 2007, everybody that worked at Clackamas Walmart that day is witness to the fact that these people were bragging about how they just got done using a double to frame me for a murder, and they were printing flyers at Clackamas Walmart that morning for 3 hours using Walmart printers, giving me the blame for what they all did. Now, there hasn't been a trial over this or nothing, and the reason why is because law enforcement these people were committing murders and were using a double and were taking their time to set me up to give me the blame. And they had a shit ton of people at Walmart turned against me behind my back. They spent 2 years doing that. And everybody at Clackamas Walmart agreed to lie for them. And the reason I know this is because when they broke into my home that morning, and they were using Officer Eric Carlson as a double, their break-in woke me up, thinking I was catching my wife in her affair with that armed cop that acts as a double. I put my audio recorder in my wife's purse so I could document the fact that they were in my home that morning. They broke into my fucking home that morning. And when they got done doing what they were doing and planning shit in my home and stuff and setting me up to get the blame for their shit, my wife and her fuck buddies law enforcement left the apartment, and my wife took her purse with her, and that's where I put my audio recorder. Well, they all went to Clackamas Walmart, and they all bragged to Walmart employees about the shit that they did, and they admitted they were setting me up to get the blame. They admitted what they were framing me over, and they were laughing and bragging about all this shit. And they had everybody, they were asking everybody at Walmart to lie for them while they were printing the flyers. So everybody in that store that morning knew multiple people in law enforcement and female members of my family were in that store that morning and were using Officer Eric Carlson as a double and were printing flyers giving me the blame for their shit. And they're all laughing and bragging to Walmart employees about all this shit. And they were doing this in front of the Walmart employees, and the Walmart employee, they were recruiting Walmart employees to lie for them. By 9:30 that morning, they had everybody in the soft lines department at Clackamas Walmart to lie for them. The soft lines department is essentially, at Walmart, the soft lines department is the clothing department and the shoes department. Anything that has to do with clothing or, shoes, clothing, that kind of thing, that's what Walmart refers to as the soft lines department. Normal people would think of it as, the clothing department, which is almost half the store, and the shoes department. Now, my wife, Joan Wager, and her sister, Vicky Rosales, both worked the soft lines department. So by 9:30 that morning, these officers were bragging in the back of that store that they have everybody in the soft lines department to lie for their asses about this. They recruited everybody in the soft lines department. In other words, my wife and her sister's co-workers. So they were, and my audio recorder caught that. So, and it caught them printing the flyers too. So essentially, very organized people in law enforcement that are very used to using sting tactics in their murder conspiracies, don't really hide this shit from other people. They don't really care if other people know or find out. Like I said, they were bragging to everybody at Clackamas Walmart. They were all in celebration mode that morning because they just got done framing me for a murder, and they already had my wife and our daughters and everybody on my wife's side of the family to lie for their asses, and they had the blessings of everybody in authority. So it was just a matter of making me look like a bad guy, and then they just needed some people to lie for them. So they were recruiting people at Clackamas Walmart to lie for them right after they committed their crimes, and then they planted shit in my home to give me the blame. Now keep in mind, I was already poisoned and debilitated by these people. They already know I'm in a debilitated condition, unable to get help from calling 911. I've already tried repeatedly. And this video is not the first time I've caught these people meeting with my family members and caught them trying to hide it. So this, if anything, this video actually not just proves that they're doing all this shit, but it establishes that I'm already fully aware of their criminal conspiracy, and I'm trying to catch them in the act. Because I've actually caught them multiple times doing shit like this. This is not the first time I've caught law enforcement secretly meeting with Shauna and caught them lying about it and caught them trying to cover their butts. This is not the first time. This is just one of those times where I happen to luck out and actually catch them in the act on video. So keep in mind, I'm already debilitated. I'm not in a position where I could just run out of that apartment and say, help, help, help. First off, I wouldn't get help at all because I've already tried calling 911. My 911 calls get either hung up on by 911 call centers, or 911 call centers arranged to have Officer Eric Carlson and his buddies sent to my door. So calling 911 does not get me help at all. So they already know I'm debilitated. So for them, it's just a matter of how do we make Terry look like a bad guy? We already gave Terry the blame, blah, blah, blah. We already gave Terry the blame. So this is exactly why they already publicly gave me blame for shit that they're guilty of. They can't really hide that. They pretty much publicized the living crap out of it by recruiting an entire Walmart store to lie for their asses and by printing flyers giving me the blame for their shit. They don't want to have a trial because of the fact that I pretty much caught all of them bragging about all that shit. And I have them caught in the act. They're caught in the act on an audio recorder that I put in my wife's purse. So I caught them in the act. Not only committing the crimes, committing the murder, but I'm catching these motherfuckers recruiting, bragging about it and recruiting people to lie for them. They bragged to everybody at Clackamas Walmart. They were recruiting people while they're bragging to lie for them. They were recruiting people. So they don't care if other people know. These people are guilty of murders. These people are poisoners. These people are in law enforcement and they're civilian operatives. Their civilian operatives tend to be law enforcement's girlfriends or law enforcement's relatives or law enforcement's buddies. Those are the people that tend to be civilian operatives. Anybody and everybody that pals around with law enforcement generally is a liar for law enforcement and is generally a sting operative for law enforcement. And because of this is why this whole system is so corrupt. This is why law enforcement gets away with pretty much anything. And there's nobody that takes complaints on sting operatives. Nobody takes complaints. News media won't even recognize the fact that law enforcement recruits civilians into stings. They try to hide that fact from people. There might be rare mention of it. There's rare times where news media has actually admitted that law enforcement recruits civilians into sting operations. They try to hide this fact because usually it's the sting operatives, not their targets, that commit the crime. And that's why they try to hide their sting operation, because they're the ones that are staging and committing the crimes themselves, and then they just give their targets the blame. And they edited this video because of the fact that law enforcement, when I uploaded this video, it made it known to law enforcement that I had this video and that I have Officer Eric Carlson and his partners on video going up to the apartment above mine and admitting that they're connected with Shauna, in other words, family members. And this video is catching another person in law enforcement flashing her headlights at Shauna to get her attention, which is why she is heading to the car. And they're covertly meeting and they're covertly giving Shauna instructions. They're law enforcement officers and they're directing her as to what to do for their video surveillance. They're telling her, okay, for this next week, we want you to have this kind of a conversation with Terry for the video surveillance, or we want you to try this around Terry for the video surveillance. Because they're trying to make me look like a bad guy, because they want me to get the blame for their shit. So they direct their civilian operatives, just like directors of a movie. They direct their civilian operatives as to what to do, what to say. They're like directors of a movie in a sense. That's essentially what law enforcement is like when it comes to law enforcement telling their civilian operatives as to what to do. Well, this pizza dude is literally caught on video warning Shauna and saying Shauna's name. He's saying Shauna's name, and he says he's telling Shauna, warning Shauna that the front door's open. In other words, he's making it known to her at that moment that I'm by the door, I'm probably paying attention, I'm probably listening. So he was trying to warn her. Now, is this enough to know they know each other and that they secretly meet with one another? They try to hide the fact that they're doing this, and that my daughter, takes orders from these people, law enforcement. Is that enough to accuse her of working for them? Is it? Jesus Christ, these people are murderers. They vilify their targets. They poison their targets. They stage crimes using officers as doubles so that they can make their targets look like bad guys to other people by using photogenic photos. And they frame people. They commit the crimes themselves, and then they frame innocent people to get the blame. And that's basically what sting operatives are. And there's 8 apartment buildings in this building. It's not a very large apartment building. There's only like 8 apartments. One of the apartments rented by the apartment managers. There's another apartment rented by me and Shauna. And the rest of the apartments, which is 6 apartments, was rented by sting operatives and law enforcement. I was completely surrounded by sting operatives. Almost every car in our parking lot at this time is run by somebody in fucking law enforcement. The apartment manager knew damn well these people were in law enforcement, knew damn well they were surrounding our apartment, knew damn well these people were in law enforcement, and we're trying to hide it for them. Which is more than enough to accuse the apartment managers as accomplices and also as civilian operatives. Now, this is not a sting operation. They may operate under the pretense of such. Let's put it this way. All sting operations are actually law enforcement people and their civilian operatives committing a bunch of crimes, and they're all trying to hide the fact that they're organized and working together. That's essentially what a sting operation is. So if you think of it that way, then yeah, it is a sting operation. But it's like, people are under the false presumption that a sting operation is about law enforcement trying to catch a bad guy. They're the ones committing the crimes. They already have me debilitated. They poisoned me. They bragged on audio death threats. They were putting audio death threats in my home, and they have my apartment surrounded. At this time, I couldn't even set foot out of the apartment without the risk of being shot. There's multiple occasions where I would attempt to leave the apartment, and I would discover right as I opened the door that multiple people in law enforcement were running to get into a position where they could shoot me. In other words, they generally try to get into an ambush position where they'll multiple sting operatives will literally surround the whole area. They'll run out of the apartment and they'll get themselves into a position like across the street behind a car or something. And I'll catch this happening as I'm trying to go out the door. So this is how I know I'm surrounded by sting operatives. In other words, just because I'm catching them a few times on video doesn't change the fact I've caught them a lot more times when I don't have a camcorder. So it's like I'm already aware of the fact I'm surrounded by these people. I'm already aware these are the people my wife and her sister were palling around with and were sleeping around with, and that these are the people that were using a photo double to frame me, and these were the people that were coaching my wife and her family as to how to set me up. For all intents and purposes, it's a sting operation, but generally people don't understand what a sting operation really actually is. And a sting operation is law enforcement, multiple people in law enforcement having targets, and they want to make their targets look like bad guys, and they generally accomplish that by surrounding their target with their operatives. and then they pay their operatives to stage crimes or to commit crimes for the purpose of giving the target the blame. And law enforcement has always been this way, and that's what sting operations always have been. But news media and Hollywood goes way out of their way to try to hide that back from people. They don't want people to, the system doesn't, our government don't want people to know, how law enforcement frames people, or how they recruit people, or how they kill people, or how they murder people, how they don't, doubles and photogenic photos is like an extremely common practice with law enforcement, and is used very, very often on news TV stations and on news websites. Not so much on national news stations or on national news websites. It's usually local news stations and local news websites will use photogenic photos that law enforcement create using doubles. It's those local type news stations and news websites that will use those photos to vilify the people that local authorities are targeting. And the people that they usually do this to usually end up dead within 5 years or less. I'm kind of the exception to the rule. And my circumstances are not common compared to other targets of people in law enforcement, mainly because of the fact that most people that get targeted by law enforcement usually are unaware of it at the beginning stages or even the middle stages of it. I was aware of it the day it started, so I'm kind of the exception to the rule. I'm not alive because, they feel sorry for me and they made the decision they're just going to let me live and bygones be bygones, let's bury the hatchet kind of thing. No, that's not what's happened. The only reason I'm still alive is because I have a lot more evidence of their guilt than what I've actually released, mainly because of the fact that I've had to secure evidence of which I can't retrieve without revealing the evidence location, and therefore I can't go get it. Not to mention I'm debilitated, so it makes it very difficult for me. I can't even go anywhere. They debilitated me by poisoning me. They are, law enforcement's aware of the fact that I have more evidence than what they thought I had. They're a little worried about what I can prove, whether I'm dead or alive. They're hoping that I may lead them to evidence that they can cover, so that they can cover it up. They want to cover their asses, because I uncovered their conspiracy the day my wife quit her job at the Multnomah County Jail kitchen. So I basically uncovered it the day my wife and her family were celebrating the county sheriff's decision to frame me. That's the day I uncovered it. In other words, at the very beginning of it. And I had enough sense to keep my mouth shut about it. And, I'm aware at this point my wife and everybody on her side of the family are my enemies. And I was thinking of them as my enemies. And knew damn well they were setting me up and that they wanted me to be set up. And I made a decision. I found out 2 weeks after that they were using a double. So basically, as everything was transpiring, I was uncovering it. And I was uncovering it simply because of the fact that my wife was constantly talking about it with her side of the family. And I was constantly overhearing what they were talking about. And the whole time they thought I didn't know. And I let them think that. So their guards were down. They had it all planned out. They were all organized. They had the blessings of people in local authority. Local authorities was directing and coaching them and getting everything underway and all this kind of shit. And the whole time they thought I didn't know. They thought I didn't know. I knew right from the very beginning. So not only do I know how it started, I know what their motives are. I know how they get away with this shit. I've seen this type of shit before. They've done this kind of stuff to people in the 70s in my neighborhood. I was too young to understand the kind of shit that was happening in my neighborhood back then. But I'm familiar with these tactics. Yeah. So when they started targeting me in 1999, I was immediately recognizing the signs of it and already had prior knowledge of how the county sheriffs operate in this town and how the Portland police operate in this town. I had already had prior knowledge of their corruptness and how they use civilians in their operations in order to frame people. So I'm kind of the exception to the rule. I'm not alive because they have been continuously trying to kill me. They have repeatedly tried to poison me because they know I can't prove a poisoning. How do I prove a poisoning? I open my fucking mouth and say, they poisoned me. I'm debilitated. I'm bleeding internally. What do? They completely ignore it. See, saying it doesn't prove it. And when I go to a hospital and tell them at the hospital I was poisoned, the hospital refuses to take a toxicology test. And so how do I prove it? See, I can't. Well, they fucking admit it. And I have them caught in the act. And I have them admitting on an audio recorder that they were poisoning me. My wife was bragging in her diary she's a poisoner. My wife was bragging to her affair with Officer Eric Carlson in writing. So essentially I've already proved their guilt, but there's nobody I can call that cares. Now, law enforcement has used poison for decades because it's the easiest thing in the world for law enforcement to cover up, because they'll just pretend that the person that's poisoned is mentally ill. And police and county sheriffs generally batter to death people they label that way. They have a history of that. And news media has a history of labeling the people that police and county sheriffs batter to death as mentally ill. So victims of poisoning are usually killed by law enforcement. Their complaints are not made public by law enforcement or by the government or by the news media. And news media will only tell people what the police want news media to tell people. So they cover up poisonings. And so I had no way to get help. And going to the hospital didn't get help. Calling 911 didn't get help. When I called 911, I got battered by my wife. And when the police arrived, I got assaulted by them. I was not taken to a hospital. I had to walk to a hospital. And when I got to the hospital by walking there, the hospital refused to help me. So authorities make it known to other emergency personnel people to not help certain people. So I had no way to get help. So it's like being blackballed from emergency services, meaning because I'm targeted by my wife's fuck buddies in law enforcement, I cannot get help from 911. I cannot get help at a hospital. I cannot get help by reporting their crimes because nobody will take the complaint. Nobody will help me. Nobody will take a toxicology test because of it. This is why. This is why. I'm not still alive because they gave up. I'm still alive because I'm simply aware of their tactics. I know how they do this shit. I try to avoid. I try to guard my food so that they can't tamper with it. Because they have repeatedly. They know I'm debilitated, so they're not worried about me warning people. If I make the attempt, like if I try to leave my home and try to warn people, police will immediately interfere with that. Immediately. They will immediately have police arrive, even though I'm not calling police. They will immediately have police arrive on the scene, and they will bully anybody that is not involved with law enforcement. They'll bully those people away from me and say, let the professionals handle this, kind of a thing. That's how they'll treat it. And they'll insist that I have to make their complaint with them. And at the same time, they'll chase off anybody else that is not involved. So, in other words, it's impossible to report what these people do, or what they did to me and what they did to other people, without law enforcement interfering. When I try to warn people that are innocent people that are not involved in any of this, and I try to warn people about this, their first reaction to me usually is, what are you telling me this for? Just call 911. I've already tried that. I either get battered. When I call 911, I either get battered by my wife while I'm debilitated from being poisoned, or I get assaulted by the Portland police that respond to the 911 call. And then I don't get helped, and I don't get taken to a hospital, and I have to walk to a hospital, and then the hospital makes it known that right then and there they're not going to help me. Or I call 911, and they'll outright, 911 operator will outright just hang up on me. Or the 911 operator will transfer my call over to the Portland Police Department, or the Portland Police Bureau. And as soon as the Portland police officer answers and they recognize who I am, and I'm trying to tell them what's happened, they just hang up. So calling 911, and there's one other time I called 911, and they actually sent Officer Eric Carlson and his partners to my door. So calling 911 does not get help. And I have no way to explain that to an average person that's on the street. A stranger that doesn't know me, an innocent stranger that doesn't know me. How do I approach a stranger and say, yeah, I'm a victim of a murder conspiracy. I have evidence of it. I can't get help by calling 911. The people don't listen to victims. No stranger on the street would listen to me. Even though I have the evidence to back up everything I'm saying, they're not going to listen, because most everybody is under the propaganda belief that police are the good guys, and if you're in danger, you're supposed to call 911. Calling 911 doesn't get help when my wife and daughters are sleeping around with the Portland police and the county sheriffs and work for their asses. So, in essence, okay, I'm going to have to end this short. This is going to end up being a long video, and my computer is really slow, and this is going to take forever to upload. I'm going to try to save a copy of this on a flash drive before I go back on the internet. As you can see down here right now, you see that the internet connection is in the red because I'm not connected to the internet right now. So they can't hack my computer at this moment. I'm not on the internet, so they can't really hack it. But when I do go on the internet, chances are they will take there's a possibility they may edit this after the fact, which is why I'm going to convert this into a MPEG-4 format and then upload it onto YouTube, and then I'm going to try to save a copy of this if I have enough space on my flash drive to save it before I go onto the internet. I'm going to have to end this right now. Let's see. How do I end this? Let's see. How do do I stop this? Let's see. I can't. I guess I'm going to have to manually stop this. Okay. There's supposed to be a certain key I can select to stop this from recording, and I can't remember what it was. Remember, I am debilitated. I'm disabled from being poisoned. I can't see all too well. I'm not no computer expert here. I'm not any kind of a computer expert in any major shape or form here. Okay, I'm going to have to stop this from recording, and I'm going to convert this into an MPEG format and try to save a copy of it, and then I'm going to upload this onto YouTube and onto my blog. But please keep in mind, there's no guarantee that law enforcement will. There's a strong probability law enforcement will edit this after I upload it. So, because they don't want people to know Officer Eric Carlson is actually on that video, and my daughter Shauna Wager is caught on video working for them covertly and secretly, and that the fact that she tries to hide it, she lies for them. So. And the mere fact that I'm pointing that out on this video is strong likelihood that they may end up tampering or editing this. I changed my password on YouTube, but I don't think that'll do any good. I think law enforcement can pretty much, I don't think there's a password I can make that law enforcement can't immediately have, become aware of. So anyway, I'm going to say goodbye.